So this is how to lesson design like a rock star teacher. This represents about my 16 years in K-8 and 9-12 classrooms. When I was teaching 5th grade at a school, they moved me to 8th grade. I was in a very, very small district, like a 2-school district. So we didn't have a curriculum person, and they never sent me textbooks. And this is what happened. So that's my information. I'll show this again at the end. Please tweet me or email me. I will talk to you. Can I get any testification on that? If you tweet me, I will tweet you back. I am not an edu-celebrity. I don't like those people. So let's start off with this. This was 3 or 4 years ago driving home from Q, because you guys are now we're in the wind down, right? This is the last big session, and you're like, my brain, my feet. I can't wait to sit for 6 hours and drive home. But then you're on the road and you're like, remember that cool thing you saw? And you're talking to your friends in the car. And there's that kind of afterglow of driving home. We had this, we were having the conversation. And this was the question that we posed to each other. Are you ready for the question?
Yep.
And I like the guy's expression a lot. Can you be a chef and work at McDonald's? What's the answer? No. Do you get to innovate when you're making a Big Mac?
No.
How many ways are there of making a Big Mac? And if you don't do it like that, you don't work there very long, right? So I have to be technically correct. McDonald's does have chefs, but they work in a special kitchen that you don't get to see. Those are development people. Is there a strong parallel here between education? So, are there any Brian Reagan fans out there? Not enough. Okay. So let's enjoy a project that I call Cup of Dirt.
I think the worst day was the day the science project was due. Waking up that morning, that was fun, huh? Yeah. Your head'd pop off your pillow. Oh no. That's due today. I had 9 months to work on it. I did nothing. I have a cardboard box. I don't know what to do for my project, so I brought in a paper cup filled with dirt, just hoping she'd know I'm an idiot and just walk right on past me. Just as long as I was holding something. What do you have there, Brian? It's a cup of dirt. Just put an F on there and let me go home. Well, explain it. Well, it's a cup with dirt in it. I call it Cup of Dirt. You should move on now. You should just go ahead and move on. Head on down the line there.
Okay, so the reason that video is that way is because Brian Reagan has people that make fan videos about that experience. Why do you think that video or that humorous concept resonates with people? Because it's everybody, right? Was it everybody? Except for the 4 kids that really did it, or their parents helped them, but they're not raising their hands right now. So check out Brian Reagan. He's got skit after skit after skit like that. Hilarious, and this is the best thing, totally clean. Totally clean. You can play it with wild abandon in front of your students. Okay, so I got this picture from, I can't say who, because I don't want to embarrass any friends. Can anybody identify the Indian village in that picture? Because it's right there. That's the Indian village. That's real. This is not like, don't try to put this on Snopes. I know this person. I know the person. I sleep with the person that took this picture. But I'm not saying her name. She said, what do you got there? It's my Indian village. Will you open the library so I can turn it in? And the person that I know said, sure, what's the rush? Well, it's 2 days late. So my question is if this is such a universal experience, we are the people that have to fix that. The textbook manufacturers are not going to fix that for us. They will send us an endless supply of handouts, But that has not worked traditionally, so why would it change? We love these kinds of movies, right? Who loves School of Rock? Hey, I watch that movie every summer. My other favorite teacher movies. I don't do the classics. I do Summer School with Mark Harmon. If you want to learn about PBL, watch that 4 times. That's PBL right there. But I added this text right here. Experience designer. I'm not a handouter for you Susians. I'm an experience designer. Think of what Sugata was talking about. What happened in Sugata's talk? Random learning, right? He's just facilitating the order in the classroom, but letting the kids learn. What is Jenny Majera talking about? Right? Stuff that she could not have planned, that does not come out of a book. If you want to rock, you got to break the rules. That's the motto that he's teaching the kids in that class. Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired. He flipped his class, you guys. Hollywood flipped before we flipped. And if you haven't looked this up, look up School of Rock Blackboard. If you Google that, there are people recreating this for fun. There are people that are recreating the blackboard in Google, and you'll see them in Google Images. People are so inspired by what that lesson experience was. It has such a halo of fun. They're actually looking stuff up and creating it. Okay, that guy's John Baxter. He does a thing called academic game plan. He's a football coach. He will tell you to your face he failed out of college at least once. Okay? When he went to Fresno State, it was the same year I was a second-year teacher, and I played at Fresno State, so when they came to town, I was like, can I help you? So I helped teach him FileMaker. But this is what I learned from listening to him. Your lessons, your game plan, your practice plan has to use the SPOT technique. You're going to like this a lot. He currently coaches at USC. He spent about a decade at Fresno State. Using the techniques that he used, Fresno State went from being literally the lowest GPA to second out of 119 schools, behind Harvard. I'm going to let him get away with that. So he used SPOT. Your lesson design has to be specific. What exact skill will kids get? It has to be positive. It has to be out of their comfort zone. You have to get them off the couch a little bit. If they already know what you're doing and you're just doing it again, that's not growing. And it has to be transformative, and that might be my favorite word. When I built a high school and we were hiring teachers, we'd have history teachers come to us and say, I love history. And I would say, but the kids don't. How are you going to transform their perception of history? When they leave, they should be fans of history. It doesn't matter what your kids' scores are on their math tests if they never take math again. A good friend of mine, Andrew Schwab, we were talking one time and he said, our chemistry teacher has the highest chemistry scores in the county by 10 points. And because of that person, nobody takes advanced science. That is ugly. Can you imagine School of Rock ending that way? With all the kids going, music, no more music. So that's one of my favorite football coaching things. Here's another one. Reps. If you teach K-8, this is what happens almost every day. The kids want to know how to do the worksheet. Right? Have you baked or cooked? Are your first round of cookies the best or your fifth? Because what happens on the first is you leave out the salt. And then on the second, you have the oven at the wrong setting. And then on the third, your kid interrupts you and you burn them. You need reps. And this is his simple phrasing. 4 to 6 reps moves you from know to understand. And I really fell in love with this concept when I got my last adopted English thing. And I had I'm not kidding, there was a pile this tall of graphic organizers. So you want me to use a different graphic organizer every day? When we change the plan every day, the kids never get reps. When they never get reps, what they learn is, I'm dumb. Because every day, I don't know what we're doing. Do you see the operant conditioning there? If I was in Russia and I wanted to mess people up, I would teach them something different every day. That way I could control the population. This is one of my other football coaches. He was at Fresno State back in the day. Now he coaches for I think he's with the Rams right now, Mike Waffle. Best thing I learned from him. I need to simulate all the parts of the game at real speed. You see, if you've coached a sport and all you do is practice the game of basketball all day, your team will lose. If all you do is practice full scrimmages of football every day, your team will lose. Why? They don't have the specific, individualized techniques that make up the bigger whole. Does that make sense? If you just write essays in your English class every day, they won't grow as much as they can because all they have is this bigger picture. They don't have specific skills like using a semicolon because all we do is write the whole essay. Does that make sense? Simulate the parts of the game at real speed. In football, what that looked like is sometimes we did our drills on our knees so that we couldn't use our legs at all. We did all of our handwork on our knees so that we couldn't use our legs at all. Other times we did drills that were all about just feet and there was nothing for our hands to do. Then what happens is you put it all together. That's our job as teachers. That's Jim Sweeney. He was my head coach at Fresno State. He would go to the big academic shindigs. So he's a faculty member because he's the head coach of the football team. He does not own a tweed jacket. Does not smoke a pipe. They're drinking Manhattans. He's got a Budweiser. And they're saying things like this. Only 3 kids in my class will get an A because it's so rigorous. And the other one wants to upgrade. Well, I only have 2 kids with A's. And this is what he would tell them. You do not have a very good football team if only 3 of your kids get an A. So from a lesson design viewpoint, I want all my kids to have success and mastery at every level. Does that make sense? What does May look like if you've been giving half the class a D all year? It's mess. So that's kind of some of my baseline here, some of kind of my pedagogy to get you guys started. So get ready to be fire hosed. Because I'm doing 5 of these plus 1 more in less than an hour. Okay, smart start. Here's an activity. And I need to apologize. I rebuilt my whole brain for hands-on activities. So this is what the kids get about 8 minutes into my first class. This is the dog's diary. I pulled this off of Facebook. I'm just going to let you soak that in for a second. All this stuff is online, so you can grab it later. Don't worry about taking notes if you don't want to. So how is the dog? Is the dog pretty happy? Okay, here's the cat. It goes on. And on. I overheard my confinement was due to the power of allergies. I must learn what this means and how to use it to my advantage. It actually goes on about 4 more paragraphs. One night I'm sitting in bed, flipping through Facebook like many of us do, and I see this and I'm like, best Venn diagram activity ever. So, what do most of your students say when you make this shape on the board? Exactly. I want to take you back to cup of dirt. If you're hearing that, you're doing it wrong. So the way I always start this activity is with something wildly fun. Did they just read about cats and dogs? So we're going to do a Venn diagram about things unique to the dog, things unique to the cat, things shared by both. Does that make sense? Is that an academic activity? I would be willing to verbally discuss this with people who think this is not a very common core type of activity. And if you look through your pile of things for the overhead projector, your, what do they call those things? Transparencies, I'll bet there's Venn diagrams in there. So I am using the curriculum. I'm just supplementing. I might have the kids form a continuum in the room. I might have them form a discussion group to argue for the dog, argue against the cat. I might have the middle group that are arguing which things are truly shared by both. You see how we're doing really high-level activity really quickly? But what am I demonstrating to my class in terms of the culture of the room? This is going to be fun. I can do this. What are we doing tomorrow? And notice that I'm looking for multiple correct answers. That's a big deal too. I'll get into that in a little bit. So, and then I'm going to give them an immediate grade. That is not going to go in the inbox. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to see those grades. They're going to present their answers now. It's specific. It's positive. It's transformative. Will that change the way they see Venn diagrams? Yes. And then tomorrow when we do a Venn diagram on In-N-Out burgers versus Big Macs, they will say, what are we going to do next? I don't know, crunchy versus smooth? Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato? Because I want to teach them how to compare. I don't care what the content is. I don't care about the content. I want to teach them how to compare. Once they know how to compare, they'll do it by themselves. Transformative. Number time. Okay, we changed our, this is a true story, we changed our K1 gradebook to Common Core this year, and I got this email from some of our teachers. I do not teach addition or subtraction until second trimester. Therefore, I will not be able to put anything in the report card there. I threw up in my mouth a little bit. So, instead of getting upset, I said, how can we transform this? So we just sat down and made a little Frayer model. Does that look scary? Look what we've got here. We can do this with K1. What's the thing of the day? Let's do triangles, shall we? Let's draw a triangle there. Guess what? I just taught them vocabulary, and I'm now going to work on numeracy. Hey, if you had 3 triangles, where would they go on the number line? Oh, sequencing. If you had 1 more triangle, how many triangles would you have? If you had 1 less triangle, how many triangles would you have? Guess what they're drawing the whole time? Guess what? That's all. Isn't that manual dexterity? Right? We're working on all these things. Fact families. If you decide how many triangles plus how many triangles is how many more triangles. And then how many of 10? So we're already starting to work on fractions. Right? Do I need a textbook for that? If you do that with your K1s every day for a month, what's that going to look like in real life? Right? If you're sending that home for homework with your 1-2s, what's that going to look like in real life? If you got 3rd and 4th graders and you're making those into multiplication and division, what's that going to look like in real life? Are people going to say this Common Core homework is crazy? True story, I've actually had parents bring me a worksheet. They're like, Mr. Crippo, I don't like this Common Core homework. And I go, it's copyright 1998. It's just stupid homework. So we roll this out with one of our teachers, and these are some examples that she made, right? 3 triangles, plus 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. Just little stuff. And so do you see how we're working on a bunch of levels, and we're developing numeracy, but we're doing several things at once in a very scaffolded way. And then guess what? When kids get to 2nd grade, if the 2nd grade teacher uses a variation, what are kids going to say? Is there a better freaking thing to say than I know how to do this? Why do we constantly have to make them feel like they're dumb? What I say is, you can already do this. You better do it fast. How long they give you in kindergarten? 4 minutes? Oh my God, no, you're getting 1 minute. I'm changing the game. Instead of making them feel dumb, I'm working them for tempo, going faster. I can do that for weeks, and that's my lesson plan. That could be my homework for a quarter. Very doable. What do you think? Okay, that's built around what's called a Frayer model. Have you guys heard of a Frayer model? If you haven't, check it out. Frayer model. There's about 20,000 examples on what's called Google Images. Is that specific? It's very specific. How many standards am I covering on that thing? 12, 15? The people that try to do standards in a spreadsheet, like today's 1.2 and then tomorrow's 1.3, they are going to get run over by Common Core. You better be doing 15 or 20 things a day in that activity. Is it positive? Do you think every kid can do that activity? I do. The variable is going to be, dude, do butterflies because you can draw like crazy. Triangles are fine. Is it out of their comfort zone? A little bit. K1 and fractions? That's a little out of their comfort zone. Is it transformative? Do you think kids will get, I almost said lunacy. Do you think they'll get numeracy out of that? They could get some lunacy. Could be a fun class. Okay, now I'm going to transition. Need for speed. This is what an art student drew on day 1. Do you want to see day 5? This is what an art student did on day 1. Day 5. Now, I showed this to my wife, who is my chief skeptic. She feels like it's her job to tell me all the things you don't like about what my presentations are. And she said, "Is that real? What is your source for that?" Now, luckily, I'm very cagey, and I said, "If you've heard of a book called Mindset by a person named Carol Dweck, that would be the source for that." So then she thought I was smart. You guys, they're doing that in 5 days. We're doing that in 5 days. And you know what the artist teacher said? "I'm not teaching them to draw, I'm teaching them how to see." And what do we get weighed down on? Worksheet, 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 worksheet. I'm dumb, worksheet, worksheet. We have to do things faster. We have to think that way at the beginning, or we will always be on that escalator that goes sideways at the airport. Okay, number 3, 8 parts. This is inspired by a book called Image Grammar by a guy named Harry Noden. You can get it for a penny on Amazon. The shipping will cost you more than the book. If I ask a room full of adults who are teachers to give me 3 nouns, it's like this. If I ask for 3 prepositions, I can find out who the English teachers are. Because there's a whole bunch of people going like, "Is that the one where you make a short name for a group?" And the reason that is we didn't train kids for mastery when we were students. And this is I call it, if this is October, it must be adjectives, right? So they just get out the book. What's the first section in the grammar? Nouns. And then what's next? And then, and somewhere around October, the teacher gets bored and they move on. Because the kids are like, "This is stupid." So this is what I came up with, inspired by Harry. We're going to do 3 verbs, 3 nouns, 3 adjectives, 3 conjunctions all at once. And on day 1, I'm going to give you the answers. And I'm going to give you an A for writing them all down correctly. And this paper that I have is 2-sided. Tomorrow, you can cheat off of yesterday. And then I put a picture on the TV, and we pull the words out of the picture. Ready? The title of the picture is "Not My Job." If you Google "not my job," you will find many interesting pictures. Would anybody like to give me a noun? Just yell out. Road. Kill. Wait a minute, we were already modifying it. She jumped ahead. Road. What's another noun? Paint. Nice. What? Stripe. Nice. Line. No raccoon or no possum? Make stuff up, dude. This is a creative class. Give me a couple verbs. Dead is a state of being. Excellent. Die. Jerky. Oh, tricky. Tricky. It's tricky to get across the street. Okay. You see where we're going with this? Kids laugh their heads off. And they leave and say these words. "Hey, are we doing that tomorrow?" "Okay, I'll be here." We just use that little form. It's at mrcrippo.com if you want it. I do not need a textbook. Here's my favorite part of this section. That is paint. That is latex paint. That's a television. That is a couch. That is the little brother. If you want to find this one, you Google times it's okay to say the F word. No, really. It's really there. I got that in an email from a person 5 districts ago in 1997, but I saved it. Give me some nouns. Paint. Paint's very popular. Mess. Yeah, because a mess, you can't necessarily hold a mess in your hand, but it's still a thing. That's fun stuff. Notice that I'm getting tons of correct answers and I'm moderating that. I didn't say this, that's wrong, because on page 14 the answer is. My favorite, if you want to mess with 7th graders when they answer and it's an open-ended answer, tell them, no, it says in the book here, answers will vary. That's wrong. There it is. Times it's okay to say the F word. That is my grammar lesson plan until about October. Every day. Every day. My job is to make sure they're doing it faster and faster and faster and perfect every day. They don't even ask instructions after the 5th day, because all I'm looking at is faster and faster. My other job is to find hilarious pictures. Now, apparently kids have found the internet. They will bring you hilarious pictures. Here's a picture we should use, Caripo. All righty. So I advanced it. Now I'm going to take the same picture, but I'm going to play a different game. This is sentence parts. Write me an imperative sentence. Write me a declarative sentence. Write me an interrogative sentence. Write me an exclamatory sentence. Give me dialogue. Character 1, character 2, character 1 again, character 2. And then the real queens of writing, use in a positive sentence, write a sentence with a semicolon, write a compound sentence, write a complex sentence. True story, one year my 6th graders moved up, 2nd day of school, 7th grade teacher came to me, Caripo, what are you doing down there in 6th grade? And I always have a pause when people do that. What'd I do? She goes, it is raining semicolons in 7th grade. I was like, yes. So I do the same activity, you guys. I put up a picture. Can somebody give me an interrogative question, sentence about that? Best answer ever? Where's your dad? Okay, do you see how fun this is? How often are we going to play this game? Every day. How are we going to do it? Faster and better. Now, this is where I love knowing math. If you're one of the people that does the 5-sentence paragraph, that's a whole other presentation. But if you are, that's 21 sentences. I get kids where they can do this thing in about 9 minutes, and that's in 6th and 7th grade. If you can knock out 21 sentences that are that technical in 9 or 10 minutes, how easy is it to write the essay about what you did last summer? They're like, psh, this isn't long enough. So, and then the other thing I do is when, these are just the warmer-uppers. When I get kids into the appositives, the semicolons, the compounds, and the complexes, then I start saying things like this. When you write your formal essay for the district writing prompt, you should have one of those 4 in each paragraph. And that's why it was raining semicolons in 7th grade. That's my lesson writing, writing plan until about Halloween. It could go a little longer, depends on the class and the grade level. How are my weekends? I don't grade at home. I grade in real time. I don't have an inbox. There is no inbox. It's right now. There's a ton of variations. Could you switch to grade? Could you put up a bunch of words and have them put the words in the right places? You have not seen 6th graders fight until you put the word dress on the board and say use it 2 ways. It's a noun. The kids are like, no, but it's a noun. And this other kid goes, no, it could be a verb. And then they're like, a word cannot be used that way. It's got to be a noun. And they're duking it out, and they don't realize, right, that words are flexible that way. Okay, Iron Chef. How many of you guys are Google districts? How many are not? How many are Microsoft districts, like 365? Okay, this works for both. I'm doing it in Google context, but it works for both. So how many people like food shows, right? Chopped, any Chopped fans, right? Any of those crazy baking shows? What makes those fun? There's a task and there's a timer. It's not a game till there's a timer. If you're throwing a football back and forth, that's catch. It's not a game until there's a score and a timer. So all I've done is completely canned note-taking for this activity. Do Do you guys know what mise en place is? If you're an Anthony Bourdain fan, you know. That was a very racy chapter, just for the record. Mise en place is the reason people love cooking shows. Has anybody found this setup in their refrigerator lately? Well, cooking shows, what they do is they dice everything up for you, so you go like this. I'm going to make salsa. Ready? Here's some onions, tomatoes, cilantro. It's awesome. Is it that fun in real life? No. You got to cut them. You got to sharpen the knife. So mise en place, I have translated this into my teaching craft. My job is to turn Google into that. That's my job. And if you've studied scaffolding at all, they call it a no-stick lesson. My job is to make sure everything works. Where I get a little freaky with it is I don't make sure everything works. Make sure almost everything works. But you can't have things where kids can't find stuff. True story, I'm a Google certified teacher. My daughter was at home crying. This is the one of my kids who's the perfect kid. You know what I mean? She actually cares. She will actually read the book if the teacher goes, you should read this book. She's like, I have to read this book. She's that kid. She's crying. She's got an author study. I can't find the stuff, Dad. I'm like, I'm a Google certified teacher. You will be on time for dinner. 20 minutes later, I'm crying. I can't find this stuff. I can't find this stuff. My job is to make sure that when they do the work is there. Does that make sense? Now, it may change a little in a high school class, but I'm talking in K-8. I cannot send them on a wild goose chase. I can't say, it's on Google, go find it. I need to know it's there. So these are the exact same slides I used at the Google Teacher Academy. Have you guys heard of a Google Teacher Academy? That's where you get turned into a Google teacher. So I was on staff this summer. These are the exact slides I used with Google Teacher Academy. So you're going inside. One slide per student. Each of you will make one slide. My favorite thing about Google Slides is we can all work in the same presentation. That's called collaboration. Not the fake kind, that's actual collaboration. I give them guaranteed research, very clear jobs, and a clear parameters. And they get 10 minutes to build one slide each. How long does it take the whole class to build all their slides? 10 minutes. So I got 35, 40 kids, doesn't matter, you still get 10 minutes. So in this, and I got to give you a couple technical things. Have you guys heard of Pechakucha or Pechakucha? There's a huge raging debate on how you say it. So I just say it both ways. Pechakucha, Pechakucha. Basically, it's this idea that you have 12 slides with 20 seconds each. It's a hard timer, 20 seconds. These are people that are professionals that get together and try to talk each other into things. It's like speed TED Talk. But not necessarily rushed. It's just that you get this much time per slide. And that's a really cool discipline because it really gets you into the zen of presenting. It's got to be orderly and it's got to be on time. Then I use the Frayer model. If you didn't search it earlier, that's an example of what a Frayer model might look like. And then I blend just a dash of PowerPoint karaoke. And PowerPoint karaoke's subtitle is Prepare to be Unprepared. You're going to do somebody else's slideshow without seeing it. That's swagger, though. You want to talk about speaking skills? That'll give them to you. So these are the exact slides. I'm not going to belabor this too much, but basically what I do in Google Slides is I make a set of slides, and it has all the information you need right there. Everything you need is right there. What you need to bring back to this slide is 3 models of Chromebooks with 2 facts about each Chromebook. Now bear in mind, I'm teaching people that have never done the concept before. So I'm keeping a little leaner for them, right? It'll get fancier after reps. They delete my picture and put their own, and then this is where the Iron Chef part comes in, some gaffy trivia about yourself. And that way the team has a little secret ingredient on each slide. You know, like when they make you put sausage in the dessert on Iron Chef, it's having to kind of fit that in. That worked out originally was just cool because we thought it would sound cool, but what turns out in real life happens is the gate kid who's done early goes all OCD on their secret ingredient and keeps them out of my hair. So there's that little filler for them. So that's what slide 1, they have to do that in 10 minutes. Look at that webpage, identify 3 Chromebooks, and give me 2 facts on each. Does that seem intimidating? Out of 60 Google certified teachers, I had 3 people that were adults that could not finish the task. But it's because of the way their brain was wired. They're not wired for speed. Slide 2. This person needed to they click on that link, and it would talk about Google tablets you could use. And I just wanted to know, pick one and give 3 reasons why you would. What's in the bottom corner? Secret ingredient. Third slide. Do you want me to do a 45-minute session about Google security? I don't think you do. So they went and they looked up the Google Education Security, and it says go to the security research, pick 3 of the top 6 that you like, summarize. Add a picture. What happens there? Secret ingredient. Okay? So I gave them 10 minutes to build. Now this is where it gets fun. They present their work 1 minute each. How many of you guys have a class that's 45 to 55 minutes long, right? In that range? So watch this. How long does it take me to share the slides to the kids? Seconds. They can pull it off my webpage from a link. I'm not going to teach them about what they're going to learn. I'm going to give them the information in a slide deck. One kid, because you're an over participator, which is good, one kid becomes the group leader. His job is to make a copy and share it with everybody in his group. They decide who's doing each slide, begin building. By the time we have the slide decks done, we're maybe 16 minutes into the period. We got a lot of time, right? Then the groups share it. When they're done, they share it to me. One of the great phenomenons is that once the first group goes, everybody else starts editing. They're like, oh, hold on. Isn't that good, though? I don't characterize that as cheating. I characterize that as caring about what your work is going to look like on the screen. So they get 1 minute per kid, and sometimes I'll do 3 minutes per group. They don't have time to get nervous. Just go. And then that presentation is going to get to be seen by the whole class 5 or 6 times. All I'm doing is standing in the back being Ryan Seacrest. That looks good, you guys. Keep going. That is all true. Fabulous job. The other 3 characters, and this is the not grading at home thing. How many people hate grading all those PowerPoints? If you're doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. Doing it wrong. I have 3 kids in the front of the room. One kid is, each of the 3 kids is grading in 3 categories: artistic impression, technical accuracy, overall perfection. What's my role? I'm Ryan Seacrest. Kids are giving kids feedback. That creates drama. That means kids are actually watching the PowerPoints. You see what I'm doing here? This does work in Live 365 because you can multi-work on PowerPoints in Live 365. So at the end of this period, did I have to say this once? You guys better listen. This is important. Why aren't you taking notes? This is important. I don't have to say that. Because they're going to build those slides, and they're going to be on public display in about 11 minutes. And then I don't have to grade them at home because I go like this. Your group, that's an A. If one kid doesn't do their slide, it's an A, except for you. Doing group grades is a big problem, right? Every kid gets an individual feedback. So that is the Iron Chef idea. The kids are going to get to see the concept 5 or 6 times in one period. Are reps good? Yes. I'm saving my voice. Do kids have immediate answers to their questions and concerns about this? Yes. If you think they should take notes, guess what? Their Google Slides are their notes. I'm going to tell you what we do with that at the end a little later. They're getting technology skills. They're getting presenting skills. The 4 C's are in full display. Those slides will look tremendously different. And you can just keep adding wrinkles, like cite your pictures. You can just keep adding wrinkles and make it richer as you go. So that's the Iron Chef concept. This is the kind of feedback I get from my friends. I used your Iron Chef today in class. The kids were ecstatic. I want to emphasize that word. If your kids aren't ecstatic, you might want to try something different. And she's like, oh, that sounds good. Hey, John, I want to let you know I've been using the Rockstar training to support teachers. Attached, please find the Iron Chef lesson plan we have created. So Allison Lopez went out, and they went ahead and made their own variation of it. So they're doing honesty and integrity, Iron Chef style. They're having the kids do the building and just monitoring the building. Instead of me telling you stuff all day, And I've seen teachers that have had, you can actually buy mirror balls that fit in a regular light socket bulb now. $20 on Amazon. I've seen teachers that have tried smoke machines. Doesn't go with the fire alarm. Be aware of that one. I've seen teachers that turn up the music really loud during build times. I've seen teachers that have one of the kids building questions about their slides for the other kids to fill out on a Google form. So are we talking about specific, transformative, right? Faster reps, less work for me. The less I work on the weekend, the more I work during the week. It's a really weird phenomenon. And so I like cookies. What's going on here? It's a science experiment, right? Those are all chocolate chip cookies using the same basic ingredients, but that one's whole wheat, that one's gluten-free, that one's coconut oil, that one's maple. This is what we should be doing in our classes if we're chefs. If you're just cooking Toll House cookies from the yellow wrapper on the chips, you're not really chefing it up. You're just copying the recipe. So use that as a visual, right? Think about hamburgers. How many ways can you make a hamburger? Because they have clearly not stopped. One of my favorite variations where they do that, I haven't had this yet, but it's like half bacon, half beef. They just, oh yeah. How do I grade this? I focus on completion. Say it with me. Kids mostly get Fs because? Think about it. I want you to say it again more vigorously. Kids get Fs mostly because? So what is your plan to make sure they finish the work on time? If you don't have one besides giving them Fs, you might want to consider a different plan. I start with really easy tasks. I go faster and faster and faster. I make sure they can't get it wrong, and I grade it in real time. I have done this. I'm going to borrow your phone. I will walk by and I will go take a picture of a kid's work, and the kid goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm going to take another picture in 10 minutes. We're going to see how far you go, and then I'm going to email your mommy." I only have to do that one time a year. Class Dojo is a more effective way to do that, but you get the idea. Real-time feedback produces results. I don't send things home, and I don't take things home. There's only two groups of homework kids, the ones that aren't going to do it and the ones that parents are going to do it for them. Those are your two major food groups of homework. And I'm not against homework, but I think we need to do it better. And I want really clear rubrics. When kids are doing projects, you may not grade them down on creativity. I've seen kid after kid that the teacher says, "I just don't like it." That is ugly. So my grading rubric looks like this. If you have 2 pictures, and you have 3 sources, and you have 6 facts, and they're actually facts, that's an A. We'll worry about the color scheme later. That's style points. And because kids will use that against you at home. "She doesn't like me." You're not winning by grading kids down on creativity. You're going to lose that fight. And who are the best kids are the ones that can't do it the regular way. What you want to do is adopt them and celebrate them and push them forward. This is a real tweet I saw. How many people, now take your teacher hat off, how many people have had their own child get this? See, it's happening too much. How many people have been the student that gets this? And it may not be an F, right? It may not be an F. But look how many likes it got. This is happening to more than 5 people. This is not just the bad kids. This is happening. Okay, Lit Circles 2.0. I love hecklers, by the way. It's been really quiet. River, do you want the key? The key's right here on this desk. Okay, Lit Circles. How many people do Lit Circles? I love Lit Circles. But I did a session, and this is on SlideShare, called Lit Circles Rebooted for 4-Season Common Core. I think Lit Circles are a little too floppy the way they are. They're not quite academic enough. So this is a little quadrant that I made up. Summarize, somebody wanted but so then. Actions, conflict. You guys, if you're asking kids what the main conflict is, you're not doing it right. They need to know all the subtleties of the conflict. The main conflict is too easy. The boy wanted shoes. Wow. Nice. Why did the boy need shoes? Because he lived in a place that was cold. You know what I mean? You got to dive deeper into the subplot. So I made up these 4 little quadrants. And these aren't my things, I just recombined them. Somebody wanted but so then. Nothing more terrifying to a 10-year-old boy than this sentence. Please reflect on what you just wrote. I like this story. It's a good story. My sister read this story in your class. I'm going to ask my mom for this story for Christmas. They don't have a technique. They don't have a technique. You know what football coaches tell you when you do the play wrong? They say, what's your technique? And you say, I'm supposed to step with my left foot first. If you do the technique, you'll win next time. That's what we need to be doing as teachers. We can't ask kids questions they can't answer. They don't have a technique for that. So if you Google somebody wanna but so then and search file type PowerPoint, there are about 1,000 PowerPoints already made for this. Teach your kids somebody wanna but so then. Characterization, teach them all the types of character. And then conflict, teach them all the types of conflict. And even if they're wrong, let them talk about it. And then this fun one is what 3 wishes would they want, but what's the key part there? Why? I don't care what they think the character would wish for, I wanna hear why you think that, because why is the magic sauce of Common Core. So summarizing made easy. I kind of did this already. Somebody wanted but so then. It's the 5-finger summary. I only let kids do 5-sentence summaries. I used to work in a district where kids would do 5-page book reports. And I was like, what? I don't want to read that. I will use the back of movie, like DVD boxes. Bam. Chuck Norris movie, nailed. 8 sentences. Characterization, I start with pop culture. Remember when I was talking about In-N-Out versus, Big Macs? I start with pop culture. Character versus character. Buzz Lightyear versus Zurg, right? Character versus character. Pushing the definitions and trying is more important than being exactly correct. You got to take your exactly correct hat off. So if you have a kid that says something like this, do you think that Tarzan... You don't want to say, no, that's wrong. You want to say, keep going. Tell me some more. Who can help him? What do you think? Oh, you want to be that person leading those discussions. I got this off Pinterest. Conflict in literature. Do you think kids will pick that up really quickly? I always use movies to start literature because it's a language they use every weekend without you. They're doing homework without you, like the Jack Black video, right? They're doing this without you. So all you got to do is bring that schema into the literature and you're going to accelerate things. Characterize. And this is, if the kids say, what do you look like? And they say, I have brown hair. That is not a good answer. So I use Buzz or Woody from Toy Story. I use a movie character that they can really dig into. Because if you said, what does Woody look like? And you said brown hair, that's not a very good answer. So I push kids to think deeper on the characterization. What makes them uniquely them? So here's a couple of bad examples that are actually sort of good. So this is a keynote slide that some kids made. Is that's SpongeBob, right? What's wrong with that slide? It's just physical traits. What does he look like? So that's pretty close. I would have used the word description as the teacher. I need to use the academic language. I don't want to say, what does he think? I want to say interior monologue. So that was actually a teacher error. Should say, describe him, and then your answer makes a lot more sense because his description is more than what he looks like, right? I would say there's no why statement. This is very low on Bloom's, right? Just labeling. How about this one? This is kid made. I think the kid nailed it, right? Because part of the Superman deal is he's conflicted. Society likes him, sometimes it doesn't. But where is the kid telling me what he thinks? See where it's flawed? The why statements are the kings, and I already kind of did this one. If you ask people what they think, you need to say, the very next thing needs to be why. And why statements and multiple points of proof are the queens of this. If why statements are the king, multiple points of proof are the queens. You have to have both of those going on to get kids into higher order thinking. So we're going to do a little training. Ready?
Jenkins, got a minute? Listen, Jenkins, we're on to you. We know you're an alien. Admit it. You're just here studying our species.
Why don't we use FedEx?
That's all you ever say. We're not buying it.
Come on, it's so obvious. Why don't we use FedEx?
The jig is up. It's over.
Jenkins, we got a ton of packages to ship, but we're in serious trouble. That is.
Why don't we use FedEx?
Good thinking, Jenkins. You two, back to work.
FedEx. It's all you need to know.
Do I have to read a chapter book to do this activity? Okay, so for time purposes, somebody want a but so then. Here's the twist. Now, I could say Jenkins wanted to ship everything by FedEx, but his coworkers were eyeballing him. So the boss popped in and said, good idea. Then Jenkins growled at them, right? But I could do this. I could make the whole class do the other point of view. The two guys knew that Jenkins was an alien, and they were trying to get to him, but the boss showed up and liked Jenkins again, so they had to leave, and Jenkins accosted them. Do you see how we can have a lot of fun with that? I don't have to go and wait 3 weeks to do the activity. So here's another example.
If you lie with dogs, you get fleas. Around here, I am king of the cliche. It's my job to toss around phrases like, you snooze, you lose, and let's get our ducks in a row. But sometimes when a 3 p.m. slump hits me, I'm up the creek without a paddle. That's why I drink Lipton cup of soup. It helps me to do this.
No, it's not Detroit, it's Cleveland.
Folks, he who cannot dance blames the DJ.
Right. Yes.
You are a genius.
What's the catchphrase at the end? You are a genius. So imagine doing that activity right here. Let's do some conflict. Character versus character. What is the character versus character conflict? It's kind of not fair because I'm only letting you watch it once. When he first says, he who do not dance blames the DJ, do you see the girl over his shoulder give him one of these? And then all the guys jump on the train and she's like, so there's a very subtle context. How about character versus self? Maybe he's afraid that if he doesn't have a cliche, he could be in trouble, right? Best kid answer on this one was, for interior monologue, best kid answer ever, I bet he thinks about going to cliche.com to get new cliches. And this was in like 2001, and I went, oh, is there a cliche.com? And the kid goes, I don't think so. I just think that's where he might want to go. I was like, that's a quadruple A. So do you see how I can use pop culture to really quickly, I can do 4 or 5 of these in one period, and the kids will leave and they will say this, hey, we're doing that tomorrow? I'll bring you some commercials. They'll want to watch more. So all you do is you go to YouTube, fake busy guy, the first one was Jenkins, the last one was Mr. Cliche, fake busy guy. The Geico series is a lot of fun, Carfax dog, where the dog is driving around chasing ducks. I love using commercials kids haven't seen because it's this whole new world for them. They're like, Cripple, that commercial was amazing. And then Marianne gave me some good feedback on that. Killed it with conflict and analysis. They rocked it in RTI. When's the last time you rocked RTI? Those phrases don't go together, right? They were begging for more in RTI. When's the last time our RTI kids were begging for more? Doesn't happen a lot. So there are about 26 million commercials at YouTube. What's that? Response to intervention. I'll have an intervention with you after. And I'm going to soapbox a little bit. I'm tired of this assignment in history classes. Pretend that you're at the Battle of Bunker Hill. What are you thinking and feeling? Kids can't do that. So I'm going to suggest something. Do you like baseball cards? What if there were president cards? Because there are president cards. It's kind of weird, I think. But what if we took this that same concept of types of conflict and description and applied that to a history type of thing? Do you think kids would be able to do that? So if they were able to do that, do you think they'd be more willing to do that? If you want to be able to download things off YouTube, this is my favorite site, YouTube in MP4. You can download, boom, straight off of YouTube. Very, very handy if YouTube's blocked in your district or you have slow bandwidth, or if you just like to collect materials. YouTube in MP4, you basically just put the YouTube link right there and hit the red button that says download. I will help you with that if you need to stay after. Your students will ask to analyze and watch videos over and over again. Okay, another great site, American Rhetoric. Have you guys heard of American Rhetoric? If you go there, it will teach you, it has all the literary devices broken down but tied to audio or movie clips. So like analogy, metaphor, all kinds of stuff like that. American Rhetoric. If you're not sure if that's rigorous enough, it's by a professor at Texas Tech, so I'm just going to stay with that. It's college level for 6th grade. Who's going to complain? But that's the entry level. And then, you know the DirecTV commercials where it says, I will read it, when your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you blow off steam. When you go, you know what kids are doing at this point? I know that commercial. That technique is called anadiplosis. Does this make it easier to teach that? Wouldn't it be cool to roll into 5th grade and go, hey guys, bust out some anadiplosis today? This is another great resource, using picture storybooks to teach literary devices by Susan Hall. What it does is it takes all of the main literary devices, there are about 36. It gives you the definition, an example, and then just books that use it. And it tells you what page they're on. I got this for my BITSA training in '96 when it was only 2 days. 2-day BITSA training. I get a lot of crowd response out of that one. Just because of that, my evaluations go up. So like Ray Bradbury, Switch of the Night, it literally says this is an example of alliteration. You can call your school librarian and say, I need this book, this book, this book, we're teaching irony. And what kind of books are they? Picture books. Boom, fast uptake. Okay? This book is not in print anymore, but if you Google it, you can find it. Some school district has left their PDF version laying around. No Glamour Literature. It has dozens of really cool graphic organizers that I use for my lit circles. I'm not sitting there doing the same jobs every week. I'll pull 3 or 4 out of these, and then every kid does every part. Because if your lit circle job is to draw the elephant at the end of the week, that is not going to get it done. Or to do vocabulary on 3 words. It's not enough work. So I'll give kids 4 of those, and they'll work during the week to get those done. And this will happen. Kids will see irony, paradox, poetic justice in real life. Your parents will start calling you and saying, thanks, Crippo, you ruined movie night. Why? Because my kid's on the couch going, that's a stereotype. Horrible subplot. And that process is way more important than standardized scores. So now bonus round, I'm wrapping up here. Okay? I'm going to make a case against random. If you're using popsicle sticks to pull kids, please stop now. And forever. To kids, it comes off as passive-aggressive. The message to kids is, listen or be embarrassed. That is not where we want their brains, is it? Is it where they want? Do we want their brains there? Listen or be embarrassed? Do we want them to listen or be wrong? I want them building stuff and then to tell me what they experienced. You see the difference? I want kids for homework to find me the most ironic commercial they can and be prepared to build an Iron Chef for the whole class on it. Do you see the difference? I don't have to pull cards or popsicle sticks. The teacher tends to be the center in the popsicle world. I don't want to be the center. I've routinely had administrators come into my room and go, where's John? Where's John? Where's your teacher? I'm over there working with the kids on the floor. That's where I want to be, okay? Learner empathy. How would it go at your staff meetings if your administrator pulled popsicle sticks? To make sure you're listening. How long would it take to grieve that? I believe emails would be going out mid-meeting. Kids are like little adults. They just have bad judgment. It's like they're on spring break all the time, but they think like little adults. Tricking or forcing people to learn is not the optimal way. And when you say, there's going to be a test at the end of this, I hope your notes are good. He's like, lizard brain, lizard brain, lizard brain. He stops hearing words at one moment, he just sees a finger. Okay, that's not the best way. There's the whole brain. Do we want to focus on just that little part or the whole thing? Right? I want kids using this part of the brain, not the lizard brain. Have them do something and show you they know how. Watch a short video, have them do a Frayer. Who's going to do the Frayer? Everybody. How many people have seen Kahoot a little bit? You see what I'm saying? Don't popsicle stick them, Kahoot them. Okay? Give them 5 minutes. Boom, let's do this. Break them into little groups. Make sure everybody works. Who's going to work? Okay? You can do Frayers. They're easy check for understandings. How about this? 360-degree math. I was talking about this the other day. Put the whiteboard all the way around the room. I can see what everybody's doing. You can get that cheap shower board stuff. It's not that expensive. Another cool one, use technology. Socrative, go animate. Don't poll them. Find out what everybody knows. If you only know what 2 kids think and you move on, you're probably making a pretty big mistake at that point. Go formative is really neat. I was showing that off the other day. You can see what every kid is drawing on their device at the same time. It costs nothing. It's made by a teacher. There is no evil plan. He's here at Q running around saying, use my free product that I made. I'll see you Monday at school. When the kids draw, you can actually use the slider to give them feedback immediately and then put in notes and text it back to them. And this kind of process got me thinking this. I'm going to leave you with a big idea. If you can draw it, you own it. How do you guess on a drawing? You can't. If you can totally draw something, you own it. So random is not rich enough. Find out what everybody knows. Change on a dime. Don't be passive-aggressive by accident. I probably should have worked some antidepressants into that, right? If you're passive-aggressive, your students won't listen. If your students don't listen, they won't get good scores. If you don't get good scores, you'll be talking to your administrator. And do not get me started on this whole thumbs up thing. Let me know if you agree. Because it's almost recess time, so they always say yes. Do you guys get this? Yes, please shut up. So make them show your work. And then on the testing part, I like to do practical finals because people will sit and enjoy this and say, John, this is great, but I need to give a test. Okay, so the 8 parts thing. Remember the 8 parts thing? Where we did the parts of speech. You know what the final is? Do one by yourself, 8 minutes, shut up. If you can do it perfectly, you get an A. Do I need a better test than that? Something 1 or 2 period, have them build a little website, have them design a game, have them play a game, have them tell a story, have them Iron Chef it. You just change the parameters so they're all working individually instead of in groups. Or if they are working in groups, make sure everybody gets a discrete grade for a transformative product. That's something where they moved up. It's that easy. You don't have to give an 80-question test. You can just have them make something. And if they make it right, you're a good teacher. So, spot, review, specific, positive, out of comfort zone, transformative. Reps, 4 to 6 reps. Move from know to understand. Progression, I need to simulate the parts at game speed and then ramp it up. I need to make them go faster and make them do it better. I don't have to change the game. Football's football. They don't change the game. They just make you do it faster and better. Success, I've tried to lesson plan so that every kid gets an A on an assignment. I still haven't been able to pull it off because they're human children. They just can't get down with that. But you should be looking at yourself in the mirror if only 20% of your kids have an A in your class. Portions of that are going to be a design progression problem. That's the end, you guys. Thanks for coming.